There are some very inspiring and relatable quotes in our history. Martin Luther King saying he has a dream will always be great. When Medea said, I'd be about to jump up and punch you in the face if I wasn't trying to get right with the Lord. I felt that. But in the case of the Savannah Bananas, I think the famous "you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain" quote relates best to where they're at right now. The Harlem Globetrotters of baseball being the easiest way to explain who the Savannah Bananas are to someone not informed on them. They've blown up, truly. They've become such a popular thing that so many people can get behind and have a fun time watching. Even if you don't really like baseball, you can have a blast watching them. And part of the whole point of the Savannah Bananas is the idea that traditional baseball can be too slow at times. And the way they do it is very engaging, just nonstop. I don't even want to call it action. I feel like that's not even the best way to describe it. I'd call it more nonstop madness for 2 hours. They sell out every single place they play at now, as they've been traveling the country and playing in big league parks. They're a very hot commodity. But we've gotten to a point where all these people are now coming out of the woodworks and acting like the Savannah Bananas are an abomination of mankind. Really quick, as always, if you're part of the 51% of viewers not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button if you enjoy the videos. As I remember when my mom first heard about the Savannah Bananas and saw what they were about, she almost thought that someone like me, a diehard baseball fan, would almost find it offensive because it's like they're making fun of baseball instead of honoring it. And I remember when she first said that, I was confused at first because I've never felt that way about the Bananas. But I could totally see where that idea comes from because, yeah, I mean, the Savannah Bananas are not to be taken very seriously when it comes to the actual game itself, obviously. But do I think they're necessarily disrespecting baseball? No, I don't. But I do think good sleep is important, which brings me to today's sponsor. Big thanks to Helix Beds for being a partner for today's video. I just got a brand new Helix bed, and it really does make all the difference. It's way more comfortable than what I previously had. Seriously, it feels like I'm floating. I sleep way more fluidly through the night than I did before. It's like the, Shohei Ohtani of beds. I feel like that's a good way to describe it. What's great is Helix has several different options tailored to your style of sleep. Whether you're a side sleeper, back sleeper, stomach sleeper, or a toss and turn sleeper, you could take their quick sleep quiz to find the perfect mattress for you, and it's a total game changer. It's like discovering your team has some star all of a sudden you weren't ready for. Sleep has never necessarily been the easiest thing for me, or at least getting quality sleep, and that of course isn't ideal because it'll mess with your schedule. It's important to get not just a good amount of sleep, but a good amount of quality sleep. And with a Helix bed, it makes that part of my life a lot more simple and less of a worrisome thing to think about. It really is that comfortable and suitable. So getting one is a game changer, and that's from personal experience. And here's the best part. Because of my code, you can get 27% off site-wide during the President's Day exclusive partner offer between February 14th and February 28th using the QR code or going to helixsleep.com/iTALK Studios. Once again, that's 27% off site-wide during the President's Day exclusive partner offer between February 14th and the end of this month, the 28th, using the same QR code or going to helixsleep.com/iTalk Studios. Don't sleep on this deal. Unless it's on a Helix mattress, then absolutely sleep on it. I get it? Because anyway, back to the video. The Harlem Globetrotters have faced controversy over the years, but it had nothing to do with kind of the way the Savannah Bananas are getting hate now. It was more about either racial discrimination or people not liking the way the Globetrotters play because they don't want that being a representation of how black people are. Like they found it offensive and stereotypical or whatever. So it's hard to compare the two. But overall, the way I look at the Savannah Bananas is that it's of course a very completely different thing than regular baseball. And there's nothing wrong with that. But after all this time of the Bananas getting all this love, just like with anything, people love to hate. They really do. It's human nature. It's natural for something big to at least eventually at some point get a lot of people riling up against whatever that thing is. It's like that Green Goblin quote, that the one thing people love more than a hero is to see a hero fail and fall. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. It's obviously a villain saying that, so it's not entirely true, but there is truth to it, as it's basically another way of saying no matter how much good someone or something does, there will be haters. So I'm pretty sure it started with this tweet of some guy quote tweeting a post from the Bananas on X/Twitter that showed their players dancing in the game with the guy saying how glad he is that his childhood was during the steroid era. basically saying that today's youth is growing up with the Savannah Bananas and how that's a lot more lame than when he grew up. And this tweet has over 60,000 likes. And my first thought to that is that the game today has plenty that is just as great, if not better, than the steroid era. And you could disagree with me, and that would be totally okay. I think my point is that sometimes, a lot of times, nostalgia blinds us. We're naturally inclined to take the side of what we grew up with. Now, people will go on the flip side and say, well, a lot of people get blinded by recency bias. And to that, I would say you're absolutely right. Both things are true. But for this guy to insinuate that today's youth isn't getting anything nearly as great as the steroid era because of the Savannah Bananas is just beyond ridiculous. Forget the Savannah Bananas for a second. The steroid era was in Major League Baseball, so let's go to what we currently have in Major League Baseball. That's not the Savannah Bananas. The steroid era was great. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, and it revived baseball in such a big way. But I don't think I'm crazy for thinking that what Shohei Ohtani has done to this game, blowing it up in not just an American way, but in a worldwide way, the way he has, I don't think I'm crazy to think that that's just as big for baseball and awesome for baseball as the steroid era. And that's just Ohtani alone. We have Aaron Judge breaking the American League home run record and having the potential to do that every year. We have incredibly fun players like Ronald Acuna Jr. stealing bases like Ricky Henderson while also hitting bombs as good as any power hitter. We have such a fun class of shortstops right now running the game. Paul Skeens is such a big deal. I mean, there is plenty to be beyond excited about in baseball today. Now, maybe you look at all that and still prefer the steroid era, and if you truly do believe that, that's totally fine. Maybe the steroid era was better, I don't really know. But my point is, let's not act like the modern day sucks just because it wasn't the era you grew up in. And that was comparing Major League Baseball then to now. But for some reason, the Savannah Bananas deserve hate and deserve to be compared to the steroid era? That doesn't make any sense. They're two completely separate things. It would make more sense if he was comparing the steroid era to now, like I just did with the players in today's game, but now he's just throwing shade at the Bananas because he thinks they're too goofy, which has nothing to do with the steroid era. And I could totally understand a baseball fan watching the Bananas and finding it stupid, and that's totally valid. I get it. Maybe it's not for you, and not everything should be for everyone. That's not how the world works, and it's what makes us each unique, and it makes it more fun. Everyone being the same would be boring as hell. It's pretty simple. But when all of a sudden all these people are starting to hate the Bananas, it just seems very inauthentic. There was this other tweet I saw from this woman saying, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'm not a fan of all this. And my response to this? Well, I got great news for you, Megan. You're actually not legally obligated to watch. You can actually live your life and not watch a single moment of this if you don't like it. You can simply just keep watching Major League Baseball like you've always been, I assume, without the Bananas in your life. See how awesome that is? Now, there's nothing wrong with voicing your opinion on the internet. We all do it, and it's perfectly fine to do. To me, a lot of this criticism and sudden hate on the Savannah Bananas just seems like wanting to hate on something that's popular just for the sake on hating something because it's popular. And it looks like people are acting as if this somehow is ruining baseball, which is my biggest gripe with this whole thing. If Major League Baseball came out and said, we're going to start implementing some of the banana rules in our game, we're going to start playing more like that instead of regular baseball, well, you'd have a point. But when it's two completely separate things, I don't really understand why anyone would find it the most egregious thing ever. Neither really affects the other in any way, so it really doesn't matter in the end. It doesn't affect the baseball we all know and love. It's just a fun little circus version of baseball on the side, and I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. So if you don't like it, just don't watch it. That's totally okay. There's a reason why the Savannah Bananas have become so popular, and I think they're helping baseball, not hurting it. There's a reason why they've grown so much over the last few years, but as anything successful goes, there will always eventually be haters who paint said successful thing as the villain. Take it away, Harvey Dent, for the people in the back.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Now listen! That's called motherfucking bars, nigga!